Can't work with a guy who won't own his role. If he's always the victim, he's never going to be able to lead. So my challenge to you is ask yourself, if you talk to your teammates the way that you talk to yourself, would they want to play with you? If you had one car for the rest of your life, how would you treat it? You would take care of it. You would fuel it properly. You would wash it. That thing would be your baby. The truth that coaches know and won't always say out loud, if you're always a little hurt, they stop trusting you. Because reliability is currency. When a coach is handing out innings and at-bats and reps and roster spots, they want dependable players. I don't need perfection. I need presence. Hey guys, welcome back to the Next Season Podcast, episode 28. Episode 27 was part 1. I dropped the first 4 red flags that drive coaches nuts and are going to get talented players cut, benched, or passed over. And today, I want to drop the next 4. So if you missed it, go back and check out episode 27 first. If you're ready, let's rock. Number 5, red flag. I want to talk about 2 of the biggest mindset killers that I see in baseball and in life. And I can speak to this from my own experience. I've done both of them. It's an ongoing battle for me. But these are 2 things that are going to keep you stuck, going to keep you frustrated, underperforming, impact your relationships. And yes, coaches notice them immediately, even if you don't think they do. One is being a victim, having a victim mentality, and the other is being a self-shamer. So let's start with victim mentality. This is the nothing's ever my fault mindset. You strike out, you blame the out. You didn't start, you blame the coach. You go up for 4, it must have been, the lighting or the pitcher or the bat, or your teammate, the grass, got lucky, whatever. You get thrown out on a close play and you immediately say, why'd the coach send me? If your first instinct is to always deflect blame, you're not growing, you're defending. And what the neuroscience behind it says is when you fall into this pattern of constant blame, you're just being a victim. Everything is happening to you instead of your ability to control the situations. You're activating something called the default mode network in your brain. And partly what happens in there is rumination, right? It's those looping negative thoughts and the self-justification of those worst case scenarios. Like playing the whole game with blinders on, stuck in your own internal narrative and completely missing opportunities for feedback and improvement and success. I once talked to a coach who had to make a decision to cut a very talented outfielder from his high school team, not because of the tool, because every conversation turned into an excuse. It was, yeah, but I didn't know I was supposed to, do that. Well, if the shortstop had just, I only made the error because I have a string loose in my glove. And the coach finally got to the point where he's like, look, I can't work with a guy who won't own his role. If he's always the victim, he's never going to be able to lead. He's never going to be able to perform until he breaks that. And you can break it. The other side is the self-shamer. Okay. It's the shame spiral, right? It's the player who beats themselves up after every mistake. I suck, can't hit, I'm trash. Why do I even play? So instead of blaming everyone else, like the victim, it's taking all of that and throwing it on yourself in this shame and guilt spiral. And it might sound like humility to you, that you're being humble, but to coaches, it's a real red flag. Because what you're doing is you're turning pain that we all experience, failures and setbacks and struggles, into your identity. And that's dangerous. This is the kind of self-talk that floods your brain with cortisol. If you remember earlier episodes, I talked about automatic negative thoughts. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and check that out. It's automatic negative thoughts, or ANTs. And that's what we're talking about here. And what this does is it floods your brain with cortisol, which is a stress. When that cortisol is high over time, guess what tanks? Your focus, your fine motor control, your short-term memory, your decision-making, all the things that you need in baseball and in life, especially in high-pressure moments, they get all jammed up. And it's not just performance. Over time, this kind of thinking can rewire your brain and literally strengthen the pathway for negative self-perception. So now it's becoming your identity. So you're training your brain You shame yourself every time that you fall short on something, which is going to happen all the time for the rest of your life. And it becomes a loop. It's a negative self-talk. It's a stress response. It's a worse performance, more mistakes. That's not humility. That's self-destruction. I remember talking to a Division I baseball coach in the fall of last year. And he said, I'd rather have a guy who owns his 0 for 4 and gets to work than a guy who goes 2 for 4 or 3 for 4, but is sulking and shame and beating himself up about a strike. One's a learner, the other's a liability. So my challenge to you is ask yourself, if you talk to your teammates the way that you talk to yourself, would they want to play with you? I'm going to say it again. If you talk to your teammates the way that you talk to yourself, would they want to play with you? Would they trust you? Would they follow you? Would they even like you? Answer's probably no. Think about how you can be the best teammate to them and to yourself that you can be. Change the script. Trade blame for ownership. Trade shame for adjustment. You don't have to fake it. You don't need some positivity that nothing is going wrong. You just need to be the kind of player who responds and not reacts. Because victims and self-shamers don't perform and execute and lead when it gets hard. People who own. And so that's number 5. Get out of that victim mentality and that self-shaming. Number 6. This is a big one. And this is one that drives coaches absolutely nuts, but it often flies under the radar. And a lot of times coaches don't say anything because they're not your parent. And it is neglecting your physical health. I'm talking about the player who rolls into a doubleheader eating 2 bags of Skittles. Okay. It's the player that's chugging a soda, Gatorade, and a chicken tender basket with fries between games and then wondering why they're cramping up in the third inning. It's the parent that brings burgers and chips into the dugout for their kid during the game. I've seen it multiple times. Or the guy who's up until 2 o'clock gaming and dragging through warm-ups with his eyes bloodshot, looks like he hadn't slept for 3 days, his brain half offline because he'd rather be playing Xbox and PlayStation. I've seen it. I'm telling you, this is a preventable performance killer. And it's not just for that kid. When you do those things, you're impacting your team. Just this week, my own kids were at a basketball camp, and there were 9-year-olds at lunch that were drinking cups of coffee and soda. They were downing cookies and candy and chips, not a protein in sight. One of the kids, not my kid, but one of the kids, shout out to this young legend, asked the staff, do you have any healthier option? So my daughter witnessed this, was standing next to this kid as they asked the question. And the staff members answered, I'm just giving the kids what they want. Are you kidding me? This is a camp. We're teaching kids to be athletes. We're teaching them to prepare for athletic performance, not just drills, but athletic performance on the game, on the court, whatever it is, and in life. That's not coaching. That's enabling. It's dangerous. Parents, I say this with love. But if you're one of those parents that say, my kid will only eat this, and you're talking about junk food, you're not helping. You're handing them the very thing that's sabotaging their performance and their long-term health. Let's get into the science for a second, because this isn't just some old school tough love talk. This is brain and body chemistry. Dehydration. Just 1 or 2% dehydration is proven to slow reaction time, decision-making, and motor coordination. Think about the difference that makes in sport. Sleep deprivation. When you have a lack of deep sleep, you're interrupting your REM cycles, and those REM cycles are critical for motor skill learning. So your swing, your glove work, your reactions, your throw, walking, running, your emotional regulation, your ability to handle slumps and pressure and bad calls, your focus and attention, your recovery. Okay. Sleep is a superpower, and we're not getting enough. I could go in and I'll probably end up doing this and get an expert on sleep to come talk about all of the aspects of sleep that are so important, why we're failing and we're struggling. I've been there too. I get it. Okay. Poor nutrition. Candy and soda cause obviously blood sugar spikes, followed by crashes. So this leads to brain fog. This leads to mood swings, right? Distracted, sluggish play that coaches can spot in a second. Okay. Energy drinks, stimulants. When you have caffeine overload, especially in teenagers, I'm sorry, there's no reason for 10-year-olds to be having caffeine and energy drink and coffee. Okay. It jacks up heart rate and blood pressure. And you combine that with heat and adrenaline and competition, you're playing with fire. It can trigger heart palpitations, dehydration, fainting episodes. There are documented cases of kids who have had energy drinks who have died on the. Okay. Now, look, I'm not preaching. I'm really not. But I care about my athletes. I care about my players. I care about the people that I'm around. I care about the future of our children in general. Okay. I also have a hard time empathizing with you just won't eat anything else crowd. Because when we pack protein and electrolytes and fruits, when my family does that, meat snacks and clean carbs on tournament weekends, not only do our kids feel better, but the other teammates eat it too. They like it. They ask for more. If it's there, they will eat it. Kids will eat what they're provided, especially when they feel the difference in their performance. I'm not saying no treats ever. It's not about restriction. It's about responsibility. So fuel like an athlete, play like an athlete. If you had one car for the rest of your life, how would you treat it? You would take care of it. You would fuel it properly. You would wash it. That thing would be your baby. If you knew that you had one car, you've got one body, one mind. You need to take care of it. Okay. I had a conversation with a veteran coach not too long ago, and he told me if I see a guy pounding an energy drink between innings or scarfing, nachos before a game, I know he's not serious. This is a coach that works with D1 recruits and pro prospects. Okay. A legit USA baseball coach. If you want to play like a pro, you have to live like it. That includes sleep, it includes fuel and recovery. If you treat your body like a vending machine, don't expect high performance output. Again, this isn't just about you. When you crash in the third or fourth inning, or you miss time because of cramps and fatigue and your conditioning, your whole team pays the price. And as a teammate, that's not fair. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. So my challenge to you is start small. Swap out the soda and Gatorade for water with electrolytes. Prioritize protein. Get off screens 30 minutes earlier before bed, right? Get your phone out of the bedroom. Pack your bag with performance in mind, not just snacks. Because the habits that you build now are your edge. It's your separator, or it's your downfall. And that's your call. So for part 2, so far, the red flags, we've got the victim mentality and the self-shamer. We've got neglecting your physical health through nutrition, hydration, sleep, things like that. Next up, the next red flag is the one who's always kind of hurt, right? The always kind of hurt guy. And you know what I mean, right? It's a tight hammy, it's a sore shoulder, it's a weird wrist thing. Again, you never going on the IL, right? But you're never fully available either. And I got to be honest with you, from 8 to 18, this was me. Okay. Listen, this is baseball. This is sports. Everyone's dealing with something. You're going to be sore. You're going to be banged up. You're going to wake up late on some days, part of the grind. But the truth that coaches know and won't always say out loud, if you're always a little hurt, they stop trusting you. Because reliability is currency. When a coach is handing out innings and at bats and reps and roster spots, they want dependable players. Outside of baseball, I was working in a consulting role and helping an organization, a business with staffing and hiring and recruiting. They asked me about, what do you look for in a candidate? And I said there's a couple things that I look for in a potential person to hire. If you've got 2 people that have equal skills and equal potential, which one do you like? Right? You feel like fits the culture of the team. You like them personally. Can they do the job, or are they coachable and can they learn? And are they going to show up? Are they dependent? What's their track record with dependability? And those are the 3 things. Do you like them? Do they fit the culture? Can they do the job, or can they learn it? And are they going to be there? Are they going to stick around? Reliability is currency. I talked to a Division III coach not too long ago. He said, I don't need perfection. I need presence. You're hurt, take care of it. You're injured, take care of it. But if you're showing up with excuses every week, I can't build around that. From a science and physiology standpoint, A lot of it can go back to the previous point on nutrition and hydration and taking care of your physical health. Obviously, most minor injuries and nagging pains aren't from trauma, they're from inflammation. And inflammation can be impacted by nutrition, by poor recovery, and mental stress. So when you have lack of sleep, that's increased inflammation. A single night of 4 or 5 hours of sleep can raise inflammation markers by over 40. That tight back, that tender elbow, it might be your sleep cycle, not the swing count. And it's not just the quantity of sleep, the amount of hours you're getting, it's the quality of sleep. Next is chronic stress, right? Chronic stress equals pain sensitivity. When your brain is overloaded, especially the limbic system with stress, it amplifies, it makes stronger those pain signals. Your body isn't making it up, it's exaggerating due to mental overload and emotion. You just feel run down. And that mental stress can be felt physically. Underfueling, right? Or not fueling properly equals delayed healing. Your body needs protein, it needs hydration, it needs the right macro and micronutrients in order to repair. You eat like trash, your recovery is going to drag. The soreness that should have been gone in 24 hours is now lingering for 72 hours or more. Right? So, yes, injuries are real, pain is real. But if you're sharing your nagging pains because you want attention or you want sympathy or as an excuse for why you didn't perform at your best, coaches and teammates are going to see right through it and they don't have the patience for it. Coaches don't expect you to be superhuman, but they do expect grit. They expect presence. They expect availability. I love how one college coach put it. I don't remember where I saw this. If you're not hurt enough to sit out, then you're healthy enough to go hard. And that doesn't mean ignoring real injuries. It means showing up, taking care of your body, communicating with clarity when something is up, and doing what you can do. Discomfort and pain that is not causing injury does not need to be avoided. As you progress in your career at the higher levels, pros learn to distinguish between real pain that needs medical attention, soreness that can be managed, and the mental resistance that shows up when things get hard. They're able to understand what those feel like. And that comes with time and experience. Pretenders, they use discomfort as a hiding. So my challenge to you is be someone your team and your coaches can count on. Doesn't have to be perfect, not pain-free, but present, prepared, and gritty. Because dependability and reliability and durability are few of the most underrated character traits on the field and in life. All right, so far, we've got victim and self-shaming. We've got neglecting your physical health. So nutrition, hydration, sleep. We've got the always kind of hurt guy. And the last red flag I want to give you is not cleaning out the dugout or leaving things better than you found it. In one word, it's stewardship. In 2 words, it's stewardship and accountability. Let's land this episode with one of the most telling signs of a player's mindset. It's how they treat the space that they're in. Talking about the dugout, and more specifically, the dugout after the game. Here it is. It's empty bottles and wrappers all over the place. It's tape and gum wrappers on the ground. It's the gear, the elbow guard that's under the bench. And nobody picking it up because it's not my mess. Except it is. Because you were in that space. You shared that space with your team. You're part of the team. You wore the uniform. Coaches notice. I see it all the time. It's the same 4 guys before or after games, before games too, but after games, after practices, same 3 or 4 guys. They're grabbing the bases. They're grabbing the rakes and raking the field, that are tidying the dugout. They're helping to load up gear while the rest of the team is halfway to the parking lot eating that cupcake while mom and dad are carrying their gear. Okay? We've seen it. And here's something most players don't realize. Your brain associates behavior, the things that you do, with your identity. And your environment shapes your habits. If you are consistently leaving trash behind, ignoring your surroundings, not going above and beyond, even if it's not your mess and you know it, treating your dugout like a dump, you are programming your brain that details don't matter, that someone else is going to handle it, that you're entitled to clean spaces without contributing to making sure it's clean. That becomes who you are. And not just in the dugout, but at school, at home, in the gym, right? Because as we say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I've had coaches who I've seen it. Coaches have told me they'll stick around after a game and watch the last two kids leave the field. That tells me more than stats ever will. Are they helping clean up or are they waiting to be served? The kids who treat the game with respect, who pick up the bucket, right? Who sweep up, who are hustling into the batting cage to pick up balls between batters, straighten in the dugout. I remember those guys. Those are the ones that I want in the lineup when it matters because I can trust them with the little things. So I feel like I can trust them with the bigger. It's not about chores. It's about ownership, awareness, and character. And this stewardship shows up outside of baseball as well. Look, again, I'm not perfect, not at all. But when my family goes out to eat, we gather our plates and trash at the end of the table to make it easier for the server to be able to pick up. When we go to pro baseball games, yeah, we might leave the peanut shells on the ground, but we pick up our bottles, we pick up our bags and trash, and we walk it out to the trash can. It's not the usher's job to clean up our mess. I'm not perfect, but I try to be intentional about these things because those little things, they matter. They compound. Because when you respect your space, right, your people, your team, your game, shows. When you don't, that shows too. So you may not be a big leaguer yet. You may not have a staff, part of their job being to pick up your mess so you can simply just focus on playing. And honestly, even that drives me a little bit nuts when I see pros after the game, they throw their trash on the ground instead of the trash can that's literally right there. Even when you get there, even when you make it to the show, be the guy who still picks up his own trash. Be the guy who leaves things better than he found. Because integrity isn't loud, it gets noticed. So there you have it, guys. There are the 8 red flags that get talented players cut, benched, or passed over. None of this is about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about being accountable. It's about being ready to level up. It's about character. And these red flags are not just things noticed. They're things that hold players back on the field and in life. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. These are the character traits that coaches are looking for and they're making notes. It's not just about stats. I've seen players with half of the tools outperform the top guys because they had the mindset to match their grind. So my challenge to you is pick one of these red flags. Pick 2 that hit home. Own it. Work on it. Ask somebody you trust. Do I do this? Do I have a blind spot that I'm not aware that I can improve? If you really want to grow, do the hard thing. Ask your coach what's holding you back. Not from a place of ego, a place of wanting to get better, from a place of impact. It's going to serve you well. See you next time.